go.
Yeah. Woohoo.
We're live.
Well, we are, except it's like, now you're live. Okay. I'm additionally going to just, sorry, everyone. Okay, this is going to get challenging. Okay. All right. So, hello and welcome, Sarah.
Hello, hello.
So today you are here to talk all about Starcruiser.
I'm so excited.
This is so exciting because you recently were just on it.
Yeah.
So that is so fun. So let's go on and talk. So how about you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm your coworker, Sarah. We're both travel agents at Carry On the Magic Vacations, and I primarily sell Starcruiser, Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser, and Disney Vacations. Huge Disney fan, as I think most of us are, and then also a really, really big Star Wars fan. And so when Starcruiser was announced, it was like, oh, this is perfect. This is what I'm excited about. And so I've just been very fortunate in that I've been able to help a lot of people book Starcruiser and go to space and live their Star Wars stories. And so it's a dream. I love it.
I know you've been very active talking about Starcruiser, getting ready. You have a lot of great tips like getting ready for Starcruiser, stuff to think about. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yes. I've been following along too, obviously. I am not as much a Star Wars fan as you are, but yes, it has been great to kind of see everything that you've gone through. So, how about we're going to do a spoiler free?
Yes, absolutely.
And how about you tell us like a little bit how the whole, maybe like what Starcruiser is, how it works?
Yeah, sure. So Starcruiser, it's a lot of people call it the Star Wars Hotel, and it's so much more than a Star Wars hotel. It's different in that it technically is a resort on Disney property right next to Hollywood Studios, but it's a really immersive experience where you're spending 2 nights in this Starcruiser. And it's really difficult to describe. Essentially, it's like a pretend cruise that you're on. And you show up, and there's a big story that's going on, and you get to partake in that story in whatever way that you really want to. So there's different story paths that you can take. They bleed into each other a little bit, but your role in that ultimately has an impact on this epic finale that happens at the end of your cruise. And you get to participate by working with the characters and in doing missions on they call it data pad, but the phone. You get to go to Batuu. So you actually do get to visit the Disney parks and go to Galaxy's Edge, or Batuu as they call it. And like I said, it all plays into this big overarching story. And then at the end of it, you leave and you're back in Orlando, Florida. Even though you were just up in space, it feels like on the Halcyon. But it is an experience unlike anything that has ever existed before. It is so much fun, and it is just the ultimate experience for Star Wars fans.
That's awesome. We have some of your fans here, actually. They've started to join. So yes, there are a bunch of people that are saying hello to you too.
Hello.
Yes. So I think what's striking about that too is it's a little, obviously it's not just a hotel. It's definitely more of that experience.
Yeah.
And the biggest takeaway I took from watching you is that when you leave, it's almost like a culture shock.
And that's so crazy because people think it's a hotel. It's not, it's more than that. But that was not something that I was anticipating, is that you go and you get so fully immersed in this story that you're a part of. And every minute that passes while you're on the ship, you're like, it's bittersweet because you know it's about to be over. And then when it is over at the end of it and you go back home to, your house or wherever, or even if you're going to continue a vacation, you're like, oh, wow, like real life does exist outside of this experience. And it was so strange because it really was like LARPing, like a live action role play that you were participating in. And I had never done anything like that. And so to do that and to be there with all of these like amazing friends that I've made over the internet for like the last 6 months, meeting them for the first time, participating in the story together, and then leaving was just like, what am I supposed to do now? It was such a big, like you said, it was a culture shock. And it took honestly days to reconcile the fact that I couldn't live in Star Wars forever.
Yes. The Dano channel and a lot of the
Hey,
followers are saying
Dano.
hello. So I just want to make sure. Guys, it's really hard for me to type at the same time, even though like I have lots of practice from being a teacher, like typing and talking. I'm very afraid to mess something up this time. But I am seeing all your thumbs up. So yeah. So for you also went with other people too, and people you had never met, but you had connected with before you went.
Yes.
And so you're like forming all these friendships too before you go and then living them out with these people.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot. So we were a big group of 12 people. 4 of them were mine, me and my husband and our 2 kids. And then the other 8 were strangers essentially that we like met on the internet because of Starcruiser, and we became friends. And as a result, like strong bonds. So Dano, he's in the chat right now. He and I started working on Starcruiser content together pretty early on before the booking process even started for Starcruiser. He and I were creating content for that. And then we got involved with the Thank the Maker podcast and ended up booking them as part of the trip as well, and the Armor Party podcast. And then just the absolutely incredible humans, Meredith and Austin, were there as well. And then throw in like a WWE announcer was in the group. It was a very strange group of people. And then it was like me and Steven and our 2 kids. But it was so much fun. And it was really interesting because we all came from different walks of life. We all do different things for a living. We're all different ages. And we all felt that same impact when we were leaving of how incredible this was. So that I thought was really cool. It was a very like big equalizer Star Wars was for us, or at least Starcruiser.
Right. And did you end up meeting other people during the time that you like form that like bond with also?
Yeah, so that's one of the great things about Starcruiser is people are really treating it like it's a typical cruise. And when you go on a cruise or you book a cruise, typically you can find a Facebook group for that particular cruise, and you get to make friends with the people that are going to be there. And same thing with this. So we had our March 3rd Starcruiser voyage group on Facebook. And so we got to know some people from there. Just by word of mouth, we knew that other people were going to be there. And so, yeah, it was very strange, and like showing up to a brand new place with people you've never met before, but it all felt so familiar. And that would be my advice to anybody that is going on Starcruiser is get involved with the Starcruiser community beforehand. There's lots of really great groups on Facebook, and go find a voyage specific date group for your date, and then just go meet people in there. Because then when you show up, you see like what costumes they were going to wear, and you see them in person, you're like, I know you. And it's exciting. It's so much fun.
Right. And I remember following you along when you were talking about your costumes, and like some people are like, oh, that's going to be so elaborate. But it didn't have to be that elaborate. And a lot of the stuff you like already had, and you were able to just add things. So you're not talking about spending like $500 on outfits for everyone.
No, you definitely don't have to. And you don't have to dress up if you don't want to, but it really does add to the immersion of the experience if you pretend like you're a character and you go for it. So a lot of the outfits that I bought and used, and same for like our kids and for my husband, were just normal clothes, and then we just added accessories onto them, so that way we can reuse them, because I don't want to just like you said, spend $500 worth on clothes for 2 days and then be like, okay, y'all were nice, but we're going to put you in a box and you're going to live there forever. So definitely work with what you have. There's a big mix of people that didn't dress up at all to people that were wearing like full 501st armor. Whatever you show up with, as long as you're excited about it, you're gonna have a good time. Just show up and be ready to have a good time, and you'll absolutely love it.
Yeah. I want to say that Eric and Meredith are talking to you, and they're all saying that they love you, and everyone wants me to do thumbs up, and it's very hard for me, guys. I'm on like, I got a lot of
Thumbs up in your
screens.
video. That's what it is. They're getting you
You
some
guys are
likes
so
in there.
nice. So yeah, this is so great. This is like really good information. And I know, like you mentioned, you brought your kids on this trip.
Yes. So we brought our 7-year-old son and our 2-year-old daughter, and there were some things that were really great about bringing them. And then there were some things that were like a little bit of a hindrance, I would say. But overall, it was so much fun to bring our kids and to experience this as a family, and truly like epic, lifelong core memories, if you will, that we experienced together. We go into depth about like what it was like to bring our kids on our podcast, Princess and Scoundrel, and like the different elements of Starcruiser. But I did also talk about this with our agency owner, Cheryl, over on her Facebook page earlier this week. And 7 years old, honestly, is like the best age to bring kids, because lightsaber training is 7 and up. So he got to participate in that. And then they have what's called the Lothcat Crew, which is for kids 7 and under. And that was really cute too. They have their own lightsaber training. They do a porg detection drill, which was like hide and seek, but super cute. And then they did a couple of other activities, and my son got to do both, and he really enjoyed doing both of them. So 7 was the absolute perfect age. From a 2-year-old's perspective, she loved it. She had the time of her life, but we were pushing her around in a stroller because it's a lot of moving around. And when you're using a stroller, there's so many moving pieces to it, and like groups of people that are moving from this end of the hallway to that end of the hallway and into these tight spaces, that we didn't want to be like checking people's ankles with the stroller. So, so we tried to kind of like stay on the outskirts so that we weren't impacting somebody else's experience. And because of that, we always felt like we were on the outskirts of some of these fast moving experiences, but that we still were able to get a lot out of it. And so sometimes we would split off, or sometimes we would be in a larger room where we felt like we could participate more. And then sometimes we just ditched the stroller and just got into the thick of it. So just keep that in mind. If you're bringing somebody that needs a stroller, you might not be like running around the hallways.
Did she count as part of your, did she cost? Because
she didn't. So just like in a Disney vacation, she's under 3, so they didn't charge for her. They just had to account for her for like meals and like a seat at the table technically, but no, they didn't charge for her. And then weirdly, they didn't give her, they call them, well, no, they're supposed to call them M bands. They're not magic bands. They didn't give her an M band, which was surprising, because typically, well, back in the day when you would get magic bands when you were staying on Disney property, they would give them to the little ones, but they didn't in this case, which was very strange.
Yeah. I don't know if they like, she was the only one.
I don't know, because even when I called in last, like a couple days ago, I mentioned something about that. I was like, yeah, they didn't give her a magic band. She's like, they should have. I was like, oh, well, they didn't. They gave her a data pad. I'm like, I'm not going to carry around this iPhone for a 2-year-old.
Yeah, that would be a lot.
Right?
Yeah. That's so funny. So, all right. So in all honesty, especially, oh, Cheryl's on and she says hello to us. So I think what's so funny is that, like like hearing you talk about it makes me so excited. And I am not a Star Wars fan. We were talking about it today at school, and I'm like, I'm a Spaceballs fan, but that's not, that's not really the same. And I've only seen the original Star Wars movies. So even like if I go on to Rise of the Resistance, I'm like, I can get the gist of the story.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of wondering, like, if you're not like a huge Star Wars fan, would you still enjoy this?
Yeah, that's a tricky question, because especially for somebody like you that's only watched the original trilogies, Starcruiser and Galaxy's Edge are both set in the sequel trilogy timeframe. So they're set between episode 8 and episode 9, which is the last 2 movies. So having a general
I didn't
knowledge,
even know that.
having a general knowledge of those movies will help you, because there are characters, familiar characters, that are going to show up. And so you kind of want to know, I mean, it's pretty obvious, like who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. But if you want to get even more out of it, knowing who those characters are and why it is they're doing what they're doing helps. That said, if, say, for example, your husband is a massive Star Wars fan and you're like, that's cool, you're going to enjoy it because you're going to go and see him experience it and him love it. And he's going to pull you along and he's going to tell you all the cool things that you need to know. And you're going to have a good time, because as Star Wars as it felt, a lot of the characters that you're interacting with regularly are new characters. So it's not something you have to have like a prior knowledge to really get in the moment. And it's a new setting too. It's not like you're going to a planet that exists only in the sequel trilogy. You're really getting to start something brand new. So it is a lot of money if you're not a Star Wars fan. Like if you're a family that doesn't really care about Star Wars, it's probably not the right way to spend your money. You can get so much more out of going on a Disney vacation or a cruise or doing something else. But if you're going with somebody that is hardcore about Star Wars, you'll love it. You'll absolutely love it.
You can tell your son is agreeing.
It's not even Star Wars. Like the food, oh my God, the food was so good.
I know. I've heard that a lot from so many people. They're really...
It's surprising. So all of the food, nothing there that we ate was super weird. It was all normal food. It just looks like Star Wars food. So there's like I think you've seen the bubble waffle, like grilled cheese. But then there was also these buns that they had that they just looked like buns, but on the inside, it was sun butter and jelly. It was like a sun butter and jelly sandwich. But it just looked like a little bun with like some green stuff on it, but it just tasted like a peanut butter and jelly. It was great.
And the kids found food that they could eat?
Yeah, so they have breakfast and lunch. They have, not buffet. Yeah, I guess it's buffet style. So they have like individual plates that you can go and grab. You can bring them back to your table and you can eat them. The kids did just fine with that for breakfast and lunch. For dinner, they had a separate kids menu. It's not off the menu. It's literally on the menu, a kids menu. They had some stuff that was kind of weird, but then they had cheese pizza, which looked just like cheese pizza. So that one was okay, because they have their chicken nuggets are called Injori and Tip Yip, and they literally cut chicken into like cubes, like square cubes. And it's kind of weird to eat that. So I get why my kids weren't crazy about it, but they ate up the pizza on the nights that we ordered it for them.
Okay, I got a bunch of questions.
Oh man.
So I don't want to say a bunch. It's a bunch for me because I'm like, I can't have it scroll up too much. So Cheryl wants to know, are you a blue shrimp fan?
No. Okay, so about the blue shrimp. I am not a fan of shrimp or seafood in general. I will eat seafood or shrimp after I've had a few beverages. And on the second night, I had not received any beverages yet by the time the blue shrimp came out, but I was there in space. There's blue shrimp in front of you. You've got to eat it. You have to try it. But one, I don't like shrimp. And two, it just tasted like shrimp, honestly. Like there was no flavor to it. It was kind of like, oh, okay, this is the shrimp texture. Yep, that's all right. I took a bite and that was that.
Yeah, I know one of our agents, Mary, that we work with, she loves the blue shrimp. Haley said she's a middling Star Wars fan, but she says hearing you talk makes her want to go.
It's so much fun. It's so hard to put into words how fun it is.
Yes. And then I can't see the name, but someone is asking, is everyone in full costume, or are some people wearing regular clothes? Is it okay to wear regular clothes? Yeah, it's totally fine to wear regular clothes. And they actually sell clothes on board. They sell costumes on board. So if you do want to dress up, like if you decide not to dress up before and then you get there and you're like, oh, maybe I do, there's options on board and you're totally good with that. And there were people that did that on our cruise. There were people that didn't dress up at all. There were people that wore 501st armor. It was really the whole range of no costume to full costume. And
it was fine either way. Like it's not one of those things where you look at people that are in full costume like, whoa, you went way too much, or vice versa. Like everybody's in costume and the people that didn't, they're like, oh, you didn't put enough effort into this. But everybody was just like excited to be there and everybody had a good time. But I do highly recommend dressing up to get the most out of it.
Mm-hmm. And I saw like I've seen a lot of people and they're just in all black. Like even if you just wore like all black like that.
I mean, that's what I did. That's like my signature color is just to wear all black all the time, unless it's like a Disney shirt or something or a Star Wars shirt. And yeah, I just wear all black and then put some Star Wars accessories and you're good to go.
Another question is, if you go again, would you bring the kids? Or I should say when you go again, because I know you're going again.
Yeah, when we go again. So we don't have a set date yet. Trying to work some things out because truly everybody that was on our cruise that we talked to is like, we're doing this again, we're going as a group. And then I've got some 501st people that are like, we're going to do a big 501st one. And other people are like, we're going to do all this group. So we're just trying to figure out like when that's going to happen. When we do go back, I think the next time we'll probably do a kid-free one just to see what it's like to really immerse ourselves, because like my husband is the biggest Star Wars fan in our family, which is hard to believe, right? No, it's not at all hard to believe. He absolutely loves it. He's loved it since he was a little kid. And because we had the kids with us, we really followed more of like what our son wanted to do rather than picking our own stories so much. And so we want to go do it and see like what our choices would lead us down, like what paths it would lead us down. So it was so great to do it as a family. And I'm so glad that we did that as our first experience. But I think it would be nice to also experience it as an adult and then also be able to advise people on what it's like to go without kids. Because right now, that's all we know.
Right. Meredith says you can't leave her behind.
Yes, Meredith is absolutely coming with us.
All right. Cheryl wants to know, what's the best drink when you were on the Starcruiser? No blue milk as an option. She saw your good drinks on the Dano video. So
yes, I am partially blue milk. I drank so much of it. I'm pretty sure like my skin is tinted a little bit blue from it. It's not just the lighting that I've got up. It's just all the blue milk. But in terms of like cocktails, they had this one called Clouds Over Bespin, and it was kind of it was like a citrus sherbety type drink, and then on top of it, it had this foam that looked like clouds. So all of the drinks were themed to different planets in the Star Wars universe. That one was my favorite. There also was one that was like a pink glittery martini that was also absolutely delicious, but a little disconcerting because it was a lot of glitter. But it was, I had two of them. They were so good.
They have mocktail options.
They have, I think, 2 mocktail options. And I'm so mad that I didn't try one of them because it was literally called like blue milk something or bantha something. I don't remember what it was, but it had blue milk ice cream in it. And I didn't even know until after we left. And I knew there was going to be blue milk ice cream, but I didn't realize it was going to be in a mocktail. So yeah, I was like, afterwards, I was so upset.
Yeah, like I've had them at Oga's before, and I like the mocktail options there. Yeah. So
all of the Star Wars drinks are good. Like literally nothing we had was bad. Everything was good.
Jeffrey is asking the same thing, kind of, if we can get drinks without the same drinks without alcohol in them. I'm sure you can. They just might not taste the same.
Probably. Also, hey Jeffrey. So it's not like Oga's where all of the drinks are pre-mixed. They actually make the drinks there on the spot. So you probably could ask for it without alcohol. They do have, and I missed it, they have this thing on the second day where they have a storyteller that tells you all these tales of these mocktails. It's not called mocktails, but that's actually a really good title for it. But they
it's
tell
a Gilmore Girls reference, but
right?
Okay.
But they tell you the stories about each, like the origins of each of them, and you get to taste them. And so I think that would be a really cool thing if you're not into drinking so much, but also if you're not into drinking, you're going to save so much money because the drinks are extra and there's lots of them to try. And so if you don't drink them, great, just go hang out in the Sublight Lounge. You can get blue milk in the Sublight Lounge because I did ask and I did receive. So
Okay, I have a question. I'm not sure if I totally know the answer, but you might. But it's about accessibility. So if you're in a wheelchair, do they have like are things handicap accessible? And do they have handicap rooms with the grab bars in the bathrooms?
Yes, so I don't know specifically if they have like handicap accessible rooms, but they do have on each of the floors where there are cabins, they have a basically like charging area for ACVs or scooters. I would assume that they would have accessible rooms that are located right next to where that area is. The doors, the way they open in the cabins, they slide open. And honestly, it was kind of a little bit of an aggravation for me because we did have the stroller. And so you have to tap your M band, slide open the door, push the stroller in, and then the door automatically closes behind you, but it wouldn't stay open long enough. And the hallway's not that wide. So if you are in a wheelchair or a scooter of some sort, they probably have something that can accommodate if you really like, if you are wheelchair bound and you can't get out of it. I could almost guarantee, but I can find out that there is an option for that. But typically what they say is to keep your scooter located in the hallway where the charging station is, and then go to your room and come back out. Because it's not tight in the rooms, but it's like a Disney resort where the rooms are just a little bit smaller than your typical hotel room. Now, that's just for the cabins. In terms of the rest of the ship, everything there is accessible. You know, we brought the stroller, so that's my best way to kind of think of it. Everything there was accessible with the stroller. There's only one room in the entire thing because it's a crawl space that you can't get into from that side. But again, you could go the other way and get to it. So they made it with everybody in mind, thankfully.
That's good.
Yes.
And I know they do have elevators and things like that.
Yes, and it's fantastic because it only is like 3 stories and there's 2 elevators. And not that many people use it. They just use the stairs. So for us, because we had the stroller with us, we would hit the button and the doors instantly opened every time. Every single time. We never waited for the elevator. So yes, absolutely. And the elevator, if you don't need it even, go take an elevator at least once because they were gorgeous inside.
Nice. Yes, Haley is saying that that Carly said that there are some accessible rooms. You just have to make sure that you book them and have that on the reservation. So cool. There's probably a limited number, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it seemed like there was only one spot in the hallway. Like I said, there's 3 levels where they have cabins, and it seemed like there was only one spot in the hallway where they had the charging station. So I would assume it's closer to that than to the far end. Like we were at the very far end of the hallway. So I assume it's going to be a lot more conveniently located.
Yes. All right. Jeffrey has a question too about the captain's table and drink pairing. If you don't do alcohol, but you want special drinks, do you think that would be an option?
They're going to accommodate anything, honestly. I don't know if they do special drink pairings for the captain's table. I guess they do, but yeah, they're so good with like dietary restrictions that if you were just like, I don't do alcohol, they would absolutely make sure that you were covered. So I wouldn't be concerned about that at all, because watching how well they took care of the dietary restrictions that were within our group, because we had many dietary restrictions in our group and they varied, and they took care of everybody. And it didn't ever seem like there was any issue where they served something and it was like, oh, I can't have that. Like they make sure to take care of everything. So I'm sure that would be the same with alcohol.
Yeah, I don't drink, Jeff. So, and I've always had no problem at Disney in general, just being able to have everything modified. All right, Brian asked a question, but I can answer it. And he asked what movies would help you most with the experience. And I learned it's 8 and 9.
Yes. So definitely check out the sequel trilogy. That's going to be your best thing to help you get into the time frame. And let me see. He says, which movie is this most like? Kind of like Canto Bight from The Last Jedi. Sorry, Lauren, you're going to be like, what are you talking about?
Give me a number.
I would say it's closest to 7 and to like Canto Bight. And it's very, very, very much a luxury cruise versus the sands of Tatooine and the three suns of Batuu and the more like dirty, gritty, like everything there was absolutely pristine. The service is first class. Everything is so well done there. And so it's definitely on the nicer side of Star Wars.
That's good. Someone asked, are there microwaves or small fridges in the room?
There are refrigerators. I think they call them cooling units, and they're very tiny. Like
they're in a regular room, like the old
no,
ones
it's
they
even
used to have.
smaller than that. So they're like that big. They're not big at all. They could maybe hold a few cans, or if you have like medicine or something that you need to bring, but you're not fitting like a to-go container in those. It's like it's like when in your dorm room when you would have like the little mini fridge for your cans. That was it. And it's in the closet. So if you go and you don't see it, it's because it's in the closet.
But you were able to fit like your luggage and everything in the room.
Yes, we brought tons of luggage. So for the 4 of us, we brought 5 suitcases because we knew we were going to go spend a lot of money on souvenirs, that we were going to buy big things in the gift shop. And so we wanted to make sure that we had room for that and we weren't having to ship it from the Starcruiser to our house. So we had 5 suitcases and then 4 of us staying in the room. And there's enough room on the side where you have your window, if you will, into space, that we were able to line them up against that. We were able to lay them down and open them up and use them, pick out our clothes. And then there's also a little bit of space under the bed where you could tuck a suitcase if you really needed to. So it's surprisingly, there was enough room in there to not feel like we were crammed, even though the pictures look small.
Okay. Meredith said she thinks she had at least 10 bags between the 4 rooms.
There was a lot. We all had a lot of luggage.
Okay, so another luggage question. How does it work when you get off Starcruiser or disembark?
Oh, that one is a tough question. They had initially told us that there was going to be luggage transfer to and from Disney resorts both before and after your cruise, and that there would be luggage hold. So just like at any Disney resort, they will transfer your luggage for you. And if you're, say, checking out of the Grand Floridian that morning, they'll hold your luggage until you're ready to get on your shuttle or leave the property. They don't do that at Starcruiser. We were told they were going to do it beforehand, and they don't do that. So when you're leaving, if you're flying home that day, what we had to do is we had to transfer ourselves and our luggage to a completely different Disney resort, any Disney resort, have them hold our luggage there until we were ready to go leave for the airport. The way that it was handled, they did their best in the moment because we were on the second voyage, so it was still all very new, but it has to change the way that they did it because there's no way that that's sustainable for people on every single voyage going forward like that. So I think what they're either going to have to do is utilize like a Bell Services option at Disney Springs or create a way to hold luggage there at Starcruiser because it was not handled in the best way, in my opinion. But Jeffrey, I know you asked this question. By the time you go, things will have been sorted out because you still have a few months to go.
They want to make sure, does it work like a cruise where like the night before, like you would have expected that you would put it outside and they would come and take it, or it's very up in the air because you don't know how it's supposed to work?
Yeah, so they tell you to leave your luggage outside of your room by 8 a.m. the day that you leave. They leave a letter. Do I have the letter? I don't have the letter. It's like right out of reach. But they leave letters on your bed every night or like multiple times a day. And they left a letter that said, put it outside your door by 8 a.m. And then they would take it and meet you back on Earth with it, like outside. None of us listened to that. And so we all just put our luggage out as soon as we were done, which was like really close to 10 a.m. And it still miraculously made it downstairs and outside to us in time because there's only 100 cabins. So it's not like there's too much to do and people are staggered and leaving throughout the morning. But yeah, so you do, it's not the night before, but you do leave your luggage outside your room that morning that you leave.
That's actually a lot nicer than a cruise when you have to put it out the night before and
right? Because there's so many cabins on a cruise that you have to do it that way. But for this, because it's so few rooms, it was just kind of like, oh, I left it here. And then 2 minutes later, it's magically gone and it shows up on Earth.
So someone's asking that you can't wear the helmets that cover your face, but can you wear open face helmets? I'm sorry, this is out of my realm. Open faced helmets for costuming.
You cannot wear anything that's going to block your peripheral vision for safety reasons. So if you want to wear helmets, if you want to bring helmets, you can bring them, but you can't walk around in them. If you want to stop and take pictures with them on, they had absolutely no problem with that. They were really cool about that. So I would probably say I guess it depends on what kind of helmet you're going to do. Like if you're going to do a Poe Dameron, I don't know that would necessarily fly, but if you're going to do, we had one guy, I don't remember what those helmets are called, but it was like a white helmet and it went like all the way back like this, but it just was like a hat. And he wore that on Batu and nobody said anything to him and it was fine. So just make sure it's not like blocking any parts of your face.
Okay. Oh gosh, guys, you're using Star Wars words. Okay.
Here, do you want me to field some questions?
Someone asked, did you get to play sabacc? Am I saying that?
Yes, you got it. So yes, it was really cool. So they have the hollow sabacc table in the middle of the sublight lounge and you can sit down there's 4 seats at that table and you can sit down and you can play it there. If that seat's taken or if you want to learn how to play sabacc, they will bring somebody out while you're sitting in the sublight lounge and bring cards and dice and teach you how to play it. And it was not difficult. It's a very specific version of sabacc. It's called Coruscant Shift. But it was not difficult to learn at all, which is great when you're in a bar situation and maybe beverages have been consumed. It's easy enough that you can learn to play it then. And I'm actually kicking myself for not buying a deck of sabacc cards while we were there because it was really fun. And it was something that our 7-year-old even like picked up on and he enjoyed playing it. So it's a very good friendly game. Yeah.
Oh, I actually know one of these questions. Someone asked if there are no windows, can you go outside beyond the atrium? And there is like a little outside area.
There is. So there's a climate simulator that simulates the weather on Batu. So whatever the weather would be like on Batu, they have simulated that aboard the ship. So miraculously, when it's daytime, it's bright out there. And when it's nighttime, it's night out there. So if you do need fresh air, you have that option. If you are a smoker, you cannot smoke in the climate simulator. You have to go back to Earth. So you have to get back in the launch pod, go back down and go all the way out to the front of the building to go smoke and then come back. So just keep that in mind.
All right, so 2 other comments are, don't bother decorating your luggage because no one sees it. That's from Eric.
A lot of people have Rebel Army helmet. There you go. Rebel soldier helmet, Rebel Army helmets. It was really cool to see it. I don't think I could have worn that for as long as I did, but kudos to him.
Oh, Jeffrey and I are on the same wavelength here because he wants to know if you get a real blanket or you just get the sheet like you do in the Disney resorts.
That's a really good question. I think it was just the sheet and then they have almost like a table runner, but it was like a bed runner that runs up the middle of the bed and it has the Chandrilla Starline logo on it. They do have an extra, so in the bunk beds, they have what's it called? Sleeping bags. So if you're sleeping in the bunk beds, like you're doubling down on like your kid sleeping situation and they give you a literal sleeping bag to sleep in. So they did have an extra sleeping bag in the closet as well as an extra pillow. But I don't think they had like a real blanket. I think it was very much Disney in that regard.
Yeah, the last time we were there, my husband was like, yeah, I'm going to need like 6 blankets if the sheet is a blanket.
I don't know why they do. I mean, I guess it's easier for just like they're flat enough that you can keep enough of them on the carts and just keep going. So for efficiency's sake, man, that's the tough spot, the tough part for me. I bring a blanket.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So maybe Jeffrey, you could request another one or another sleeping bag if you needed it.
You probably could. You can also request irons. So if you need an iron for your costume, you can absolutely do that as well. They don't have them in the room. We traveled with a travel steamer, just a little one that you get on Amazon, and that one worked good for us. I don't like to iron, so if I can steam it, I will.
Were there plugs to charge all your stuff in the room too, just like a regular resort?
Yes, but not enough considering that they give you a data pad or like a phone to use. So then you have to charge your phone and the data pad per person. So it got to be a lot because I think they had a couple of USB ports, but definitely if you can bring like a power strip or something, because that'll make it a lot easier.
Okay. Sarah, how did you feel about sharing this experiencing with your kids as a mom?
Oh, it was so much fun. So I posted a picture about it today, and I think it's my favorite picture from the entire trip of our kids doing, and we were doing it with them, doing lightsaber training. And so without going into any spoilers, the parents are kind of on one side of the room and the kids are on the other side of the room, and they learn like a cute little chant, and they kind of like Karate Kid, where they're learning different things without realizing that they're learning like lightsaber moves. And then they put it all together at the end and you work together as a family. And getting to do that, and the picture that I posted today is kind of like the ultimate moment in that experience. And they got a picture of it, and it's like everybody has like a lightsaber up together, and we were all like kind of fighting with it, but we all just have like huge smiles on our faces. And that's how it felt. It was getting to enjoy something that my husband and I both love so much with our kids who also love Star Wars. It was very special. We're very fortunate that we were able to bring them and that they liked it. But they loved it. Like our daughter, she's 2, and the day after we got back, she woke up from her nap and she said, "I want to go home." We're like, "You are home." She goes, "I want to go to space." And she fell in love with it so much that she was like, "I'm going to stay there now." I was like, "Me too, man." Let's go.
Oh, all right. We're going to do one last question. Okay. So Nate asked is there any TV in the room?
There is. And what did we watch? We watched Bluey. So there's a TV. It had some different, I meant to take pictures of it, but they have information about the Disney parks. They had regular TV, and then they had kind of like a map of the ship and the activities and things that are going on there as well. So it definitely wasn't like a typical Disney resort TV where it's just like a couple channels that are Disney resorts and then regular ones. It was different things that you could go into. But yeah, they did have regular TV, and we did watch Bluey in space because when you're trying to get ready and you have a 2-year-old, it's kind of nice to be like, "Here, watch this for a second while I go like make sure all of our costumes are ready."
Right. Everyone says they loved your picture that you posted today.
PhotoPass. So that was another one of my gripes with it, and I've heard different things. There wasn't a lot of PhotoPass opportunities on our cruise. There was one when you like from 1 to 4 when you first get there, like the check-in time, they had a person in the atrium, and then they had a PhotoPass photographer when you were doing the Outer Rim Regalia, which is just like a fashion show, and then in that lightsaber training. And that was the only PhotoPass opportunities that we saw on the ship. And we were lucky because we had the kids and we had annual passes, so we didn't actually like pay separate for Memory Maker. But if we had, it would have been a real letdown because you're paying a lot of money for not a lot of opportunities to take pictures. So if you're considering doing some kind of picture option, I would definitely go for the portrait session. It's $100, it's 30 minutes, and it's like a dedicated personalized photo session for you versus $170 for Memory Maker for maybe like 1 or 2 pictures if you participate in it. Now, that said, if you're going to add a Disney trip to the end of it, Memory Maker is probably worth it as well. But just for Starcruiser alone, I wouldn't do it.
Yes. I'm sorry. There are so many comments all of a sudden. Guys, we cannot do this all night. We both have kids. So if you didn't get this from everything that Sara has said, she's a wealth of knowledge for Starcruiser.
I love it. I just love it. It's absolutely incredible. And if, like I said, if you're a Star Wars fan, like this is the ultimate for you. And we went into it thinking this is it. We're going to go, and then maybe we'll be able to, maybe we'll go back in like 5 years and see how it changed. Literally every single person that we talked to when we were leaving, everybody was like, we've got to come back, and we've got to come back soon. And so everybody's trying to figure out ways. Like, that's just how great of a job that they did. And so all of that negative marketing that came out, or that negative feedback that came out about the marketing like late last year, was completely unwarranted. If somebody's been and you're on the fence about going, talk to them and get their honest opinion, because that's going to be worth so much more than people on YouTube that are putting up clickbait titles. Like, talk to somebody that has experience with it. If you have a friend that's done it, get in the groups and talk to people in there, and you'll get better reviews and a sense of what it is.
Right. That's good. So we were going to talk about how to book a Starcruiser, but I think you all know you're going to call Sara. Okay, because I can say that when Sara was on her Starcruiser, the new dates were released, and Cheryl and I sat there for 2 days just doing redial to try and book Starcruiser.
And bless you for that. It could not have been worse timing. I felt so bad because we just got on the ship, and then I get the email that says Starcruiser goes on sale tomorrow, and I was like, no, that's like the one day that I can't do it, or like the 2 days, and I felt so bad for you. So thank you so much for doing that. Because
yes, but it was like very interesting because people are very interested in, it's one of the things that you can only book calling in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, Disney wait times on phones are so like we kept getting, thank you for calling us. You need to call back later because we don't have enough people to take calls right now.
Yep. Yeah. They're long waits. And when you do get on to actually wait on hold, the music that they have for Starcruiser, it's weird. It's like weird white noise, like underscore for like a Star Wars movie, but like a very scary Star Wars movie. It's very strange, the whole music.
So I will put all your information below in this live a few minutes later. But
thank you so much.
How about you tell everyone how they can find you and contact you for any Starcruiser, any kind of travel information? Yeah,
sure. So I am Sara J Mac on both Instagram and TikTok. That is SaraJayMac. I'm also an admin on a couple of the Starcruiser groups on Facebook. So if you want to hop in there and get more information, we are part of the Galactic Starcruiser Tips and Tricks. It's like a planning group. And then there's also a Galactic Starcruiser costuming group. So if you're going and you're curious about what other people are wearing, that is a fantastic resource to go see from real people what they're putting together and maybe get inspired for your own costumes. And then, of course, mine and my husband's podcast is Princess and Scoundrel, where we talk about Disney parks and Star Wars, and also tons and tons and tons of Starcruiser stuff because we're obsessed.
Jeffrey said you did a great job with his Starcruiser. I just want to put that little, I know a few people have said that are in the chat right now. So
thank you guys.
Yes, you guys are awesome. So yes, so that information is below. If you want to follow along with Sara, ask her some more questions, please reach out to her. And it was great having you on.
Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
Yes. All right. I'm so lucky I get to work with you too. We have so much fun. All right. Well, thank you, Sara. And thank you everyone in the chat. And we'll talk to you all another time. Bye.
Bye.